Have you ever wondered where your story truly began? Not just a few generations ago, but thousands, even millions of years back. The answer, for all of us, lies on one continent, Africa. This is not just a story of bones and stones. It's the epic saga of humanity itself, a journey that starts with our earliest ancestors and leads directly to you, watching this video right now. So, how did a small group of hominins in Africa become a global species of nearly 8 billion people? Let's travel back in time and uncover the incredible story of our shared origins. Our journey begins between 6 and 7 million years ago. Imagine the vast landscapes of ancient Africa, teeming with life. It's here that our evolutionary path diverged from that of other apes. The earliest hominins, like Australopithecus, started to appear. While they still had many ape-like features, one crucial change set them on a new course: bipedalism. Walking on two legs was a game changer. It freed up their hands to carry food, tools, and eventually, their young. This simple act of standing upright was the first giant leap for mankind, allowing our ancestors to explore new environments and adapt to a changing world. It was a risky move, but it paid off, setting the stage for everything that was to come. Fast forward a few million years, to around 3.2 million years ago. This is when we meet one of the most famous early humans ever discovered, Lucy. Her species, Australopithecus afarensis, was a perfect example of this transitional phase. Lucy's skeleton, found in Ethiopia, showed she was small, with long arms for climbing trees, but her hips and legs were built for walking upright. She and her kin roamed the woodlands and grasslands of East Africa. They weren't thinkers like us. Their brains were still relatively small, but they were resilient and adaptable. They were the pioneers who proved that a life on 2 feet was a successful strategy, paving the way for more advanced hominins who would soon take their place. Around 2.5 million years ago, a new character enters our story, Homo habilis, which means handy man, and for good reason. This was the first of our ancestors to consistently create and use stone tools. This wasn't just banging rocks together. They were deliberately shaping stones to create sharp edges for cutting meat and breaking bones. This technological breakthrough was revolutionary. It gave them access to new, high-energy food sources, like bone marrow, which in turn fueled the development of a larger, more complex brain. The link between tools, diet, and brain growth is a crucial theme in our evolution. Homo habilis wasn't just surviving. They were innovating, setting a precedent for the billions of inventors and problem solvers who would follow. Next on the scene is a true globetrotter, Homo erectus, the upright man, appearing around 2 million years ago. This species was a major upgrade. They were taller, more human-like in their proportions, and had significantly larger brains than their predecessors. Homo erectus was a master of its environment. They were likely the first to control fire, a monumental achievement that provided warmth, protection from predators, and a way to cook food, making it easier to digest and unlocking even more nutrients. But their greatest feat, they were the first hominins to leave Africa, driven by curiosity, climate change, or perhaps just following herds of animals. Groups of Homo erectus spread out across Asia and Europe. This was humanity's first great migration, the first step towards becoming a truly global species. While Homo erectus was exploring the world, evolution didn't stop back in Africa. The continent remained the cradle of innovation. Here, the ancestors who stayed behind continued to evolve, facing new challenges and developing new solutions. Over hundreds of thousands of years, their brains grew larger, their tools became more sophisticated, and their social structures likely became more complex. This period is a bit murky in the fossil record, but it's a critical chapter. It's during this time that the foundations for our own species, Homo sapiens, were laid. Africa wasn't just the starting point. It was the engine room of human evolution, constantly churning out new adaptations and new possibilities. Then, around 300,000 years ago, in a corner of Africa, what is now Morocco, the earliest known members of our own species appeared. Hello, Homo sapiens. Anatomically, they looked like us. They had the high, rounded skulls to house a large brain, a flatter face, and a prominent chin. But were they thinking and behaving like us? Not quite yet. Their tools were still relatively simple, and their art and symbolic thought hadn't fully blossomed, but the hardware was in place. These early Homo sapiens were poised for a cognitive revolution that would change the planet forever. They were the culmination of millions of years of African evolution, a species with unprecedented potential. For the next couple of 100,000 years, Homo sapiens lived and evolved within Africa. They spread across the continent, from the savannas of the east to the forests of the west and the coasts of the south. They developed new technologies, like more refined stone tools, and perhaps the first hints of symbolic behavior, like using pigments for decoration. They were becoming masters of their diverse African homelands. But the world beyond Africa was still largely populated by other human species, like the Neanderthals in Europe and the Denisovans in Asia, descendants of those earlier Homo erectus migrations. The stage was set for a final, decisive chapter in the human story. Then, sometime between 60,000 and 70,000 years ago, a small group of Homo sapiens, perhaps just a few hundred or a few thousand individuals, did something extraordinary. They walked out of Africa. This wasn't the first time humans had left the continent, but this time was different. This group carried with them a new suite of cognitive tools, complex language, symbolic thought, and an unparalleled ability to cooperate and plan. This out of Africa event is the single most important migration in human history, because every non-African person on Earth today is a descendant of this small, adventurous band. As they spread across the globe, they encountered a world already inhabited by other types of humans. In Europe and the Middle East, they met the Neanderthals. In Asia, they met the Denisovans. What happened when these different human groups met is a fascinating and complex story that we're still uncovering through genetics. We know there was some interbreeding. In fact, many modern humans with ancestry outside of Africa carry a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA in their genomes. This tells us that our story isn't one of simple replacement, but a more intricate tale of interaction and mingling. Ultimately, however, Homo sapiens, with their advanced culture and adaptability, became the last human species standing. From the Middle East, they pushed eastward along the coasts of Asia, reaching Australia by at least 50,000 years ago, an incredible feat that required crossing open water. They moved north into the heart of Asia and across the frozen plains of Siberia. From there, they made the final great leap, crossing the Bering Land Bridge into the Americas around 15,000 to 20,000 years ago. Within a few thousand years, they had populated two entire continents, from the Arctic to the tip of South America. It was the fastest and most extensive expansion of any species in Earth's history. In a geological blink of an eye, our African ancestors had conquered the world. So, when you look at the amazing diversity of cultures, languages, and people across the planet today, remember this: we are all one family. Our deep history is a shared one, rooted in the rich soil of Africa. The story of human origins is a powerful reminder of our common ancestry and the incredible journey we have all taken together, from a small hominin taking its first wobbly steps onto feet to a species that can contemplate its own origins and look to the stars. It's all one continuous story. A story that began and was forged in Africa. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through time as fascinating as I do, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about our incredible world.